Good morning, everybody. Had to make sure that we were working here. Glad to have you here, and I hope your Tuesday is going well. And go ahead and like the video if you will, and then take your Bible and turn with me. We'll start this morning in the 57th Psalm. 57th Psalm. And you're probably noticing a theme, a common denominator between many of these Psalms. Again, being Psalms of David, they were written at times when David was in a desperate situation. There are many psalms that are written very joyously in excellent times, but many that are written in dark hours. And this is another one of those type psalms. David writes again when he was during that time when David was fleeing from Saul. And again, remind you the situation. Saul was jealous of David. David had done nothing to actually come against Saul, just that people liked David. Especially after he had defeated Goliath, David became very popular, and Saul became very jealous and decided to kill David. And so David had to flee. And so for roughly 12 years of David's life, he was on the run from Saul. So that's a rather long time. And so obviously in 12 years, David would have written a lot of psalms, a lot of songs about his situation. Several things about this psalm. This psalm, you'll notice in the superscription above the psalm, it is written to the chief musician. And then you'll notice the word michtam. And that simply means that this is a psalm. We've seen that word before, that David wanted to be carved onto the heart. This was like a word you would use for engraving. And so he wanted this word to be, this song to be kept close by to the people. It was eventually obviously given to the chief musician, and then you'll also notice the word in the superscription there. And I'm not 100% sure of the pronunciation, but the word altachith. And that word, I do know what it means. The word means do not destroy. And there's several ideas about that actual statement of do not destroy. One of them is that it meant don't destroy this psalm, hang on to this song. Other people have interpreted that to mean David was saying, "Don't destroy me." That was, it was a very personal note as to the psalm, and so that others think actually that it was a statement of how the psalm was to be performed. Personally, I don't know that I can be positive about it. I know I can't be positive about it. I would say maybe it's a little bit of both. David's prayer, "Don't destroy me," and then his prayer that this psalm would not be destroyed. And I think that goes fitting with, again, the michtam word that means to engrave. And so this was a very important song to David. Regardless of how we interpret and understand that word, it doesn't change what was going on in this particular psalm. And so we're going to notice this psalm, it divides up into three three sections in this psalm. And one of them, we see that God is talking. David is going to be talking about the problems that have followed him for a large part of his life. The crisis itself, what was going on, and then the confidence and the trust that he was placing in the Lord. And I'm going to tell you up front the lesson that we're going to learn from this psalm, and that is that there is nothing that can replace or nothing better than the love and the protection of God, His grace and His mercy when we are in danger, when we need to be protected from the dangers of life. And so we're going to pick up obviously in verse 1 here, and we're going to see something again that has been, I hope, driven into our hard heads. David begins, "Be merciful unto me, O God, be merciful unto me, for my soul trusteth in thee, yea, in the shadow of thy wings will I make my refuge until these calamities be overpassed." And so again, we see the first thing David does, or the first thing we have recorded anyway that David does when life is falling apart on him, when he's in a desperate situation, is David goes to God. He cries out for mercy. Same as in the 56th Psalm when the problem was of his own making. Same we've seen over and over. Maybe some of you are getting tired of coming and tuning in here and hearing me talking about this, but I'm not making this up. I started with the first Psalm and have just been working my way through, and that's what the Psalms are telling us. And so I think there's a reason that message keeps being repeated to us, and that is that generally we don't abide by that lesson. We try to fix our own messes. We try to get ourselves out of situations. We try to remedy it ourselves. But David has taught us time and time again in the Psalms that our first place of refuge should be in God Himself. I know that people from my church have heard me talk about this before. Years ago, I worked in the jewelry business. I did repair work, and I never will forget a lady came walking in with her husband's several $1,000 Rolex, and she was carrying it. I don't know how well you can see it. Carrying it in her hands like this, and anytime you're carrying your several $1,000 Rolex watch like this, it's probably not a good thing. But she brought it in and said, she come carrying it in and said, "Can you fix this?" And what had happened was she'd taken it to one of the other jewelers in the shopping center, and he had busted her watch up. And she come carrying it in like, "Can you fix it?" And I said, "Well, I could have if you would have brought it here first. But now it's it's beyond my help. But I could have fixed it if you'd have just brought it to me first." And I'm afraid that many times in our life, that's the way we do God. We go out. We try to use the world's methods. We try to use the self-help books. We try to fix things ourselves. And then we come carrying it to God after we've tore it up and said, "Can you fix this?" Well, David has tried to teach us time and time again through 57 Psalms now that we should go to God first. David knows he can't survive. He can't defeat Saul and his army on his own. He must have the assistance, the protection of God. And so he goes there first. And when he does, he says, "I'm going to, my soul is trusting you. I'm going to hide under your wings." And I think every time I hear that phrase about hiding under the wings, I remember my father raised racing pigeons, homing pigeons, and I remember going in to feed the pigeons, and the mother would be sitting there on the nest, and many times you wouldn't even realize that she had a baby till maybe she moved or the baby stuck its head out. The baby was hid up under that mother. I've seen the same thing with baby chickens, and so David says, "I'm going to hide." Under the protection, it's a safe place for me to go and to hide there under the very shelter of my Father's wings. You've seen that with children. There's nothing much more precious than seeing a child run and jump up in its mother or father's arms and kind of tuck its head down into the parent's neck and kind of tuck away, and it's almost like they think, well, I've become invisible now. Nothing can hurt me when I'm in the arms of my father, my mother. How much truer is that statement when we find ourselves in those situations, and we run and place ourselves in the very protecting refuge of my Father until my calamities be overpassed, until this goes away, until it gets better. I'm going to stay right here, and I'm going to hide in the protection and the safety of God. This one verse. It's all we're going to get done today. What a wonderful, wonderful vision, image that we have there of that mother bird protecting her children, and that I'm going to hide in the protecting hand of God. And one thing you'll notice about this psalm, some of the other psalms we've looked at, David was a little. He's more comfortable. He's more positive here. He is comfortable. He's from the beginning of the psalm. He is expressing his confidence in being underneath his Father's wings. What I want you to learn today out of this verse is the two things. The one I've already dwelt on. I'm not going to stay there. I'm just going to remind you: go to the Father. Go to Him first. Make Him your first resort, not your last. And then second is to understand this: God doesn't want you to live in fear of your situation. He tells us in the New Testament that He has not given us the spirit of fear, that He wants us to have peace, and peace that passes all understanding. He wants us to have life, and life more abundant. God doesn't want us to live in fear. He wants us to learn to take refuge and to trust in Him, to make that a regular occurrence and habit, not to make it, again, our last resort, but to put our confidence and trust in Him so that we can face the storms and the trials of our life. I hope you don't need this message this morning. I really do. I hope you don't. I hope you don't need it. I hope you never need it. But just in case that you do have trials and tribulations and battles and in your life, you remember the lesson of this one verse. One verse, not a real big assignment. You remember this one verse this morning. Go to Him first. Trust Him. Put yourself at His disposal, protection under His wings, no matter your circumstance. All right, hope you have a great day, and we'll see you back here Wednesday morning.